Evening. When I was 8 years old and in the second grade, I was taken out of school. At the time, I didn't have a name for why I was struggling. I just knew that when my mom handed me a book, the words just wouldn't click. I didn't even know I had dyslexia, and no one else did either. But I felt a lot of heartache about it. I remember being the only kid in special ed, and I thought I was only there because I was special. Joke is, until they added another kid, it really hit me. My situation was more severe than I thought. My mom was dealing with her own mental issues at the time, and I thought my struggles was just a minor issue compared to the rest of the family. So I was put to work to help around the house and got my first job when I was 14. In my late teens, I was already working 3 jobs. I was working at Ingalls, a moving company, and I was also dancing ballet. I remember being in ballet practice, and our teacher would hand us a piece of paper to write our feelings down, which, to be honest, looking back, made no sense and was completely ridiculous. I just hated it. She would then tell us to take our piece of paper and hand it to the person next to us so they can dance to what we written down. So literally, Emily would write down a 16-page novel, and I'll be like, oh, Emily, you're sure feeling a lot. And I'm feeling nothing because I didn't know how to write. And better yet, I didn't have nothing written down to share. This always made me feel dumb and really embarrassed. One time, I went to a 2-week camp at AB Tech when I was 14, and this inspired something in me because I was introduced into medical and science, and I knew one day that I wanted to do something like this one day in my life. In my late 20s, I had to leave home because it was necessary for my safety. At the same time, I discovered audiobooks, and I became obsessed with reading. I didn't even care what the book was about. I just loved to learn. It was also at this time that my friend Jacob told me about Literacy Together. He knew how important my education was to me. I didn't have a computer at the time, but I did look up Literacy Together on my phone, called Rebecca, and about 4 months later, had a tutor. I have been with the adult literacy program for about 2.5 years, and I could imagine having the best tutors that anyone could ever imagine. Leslie, Ed, Joe, and Jeff. And they each helped me with different subjects for my GED studies. My goal was, when I started to get my GED, so I could get more of an education, but also more opportunities so I wouldn't be stunted in life. I worked really hard and passed my science tests, and then my social studies, and my language arts, and I'm proud to say, just last month, I passed my final test, math. I finally have my GED. Up until my 20s, I was at a first grade reading level. Today, I'm reading at a much higher level, and I'm not stopping there. My next dream is to earn a degree for biochemistry at UNCA. And believe it or not, about 2 weeks ago, I found out I've been accepted to UNCA for the fall. So, I love science ever since that first camp I went to. I want to be in a lab uncovering how the world works, and to me, learning from pretty much anything is happiness. I'm standing here today because I want to give back to the same way that people invested in me. I want the world to understand that dyslexia is a big deal, but at the same time, not a big deal. It really doesn't defy your intelligence at all. If I could talk to my 8-year-old self, I could tell him, never use the word I can't. There is a quote that I love from Steve Harvey. Everyone has a turning back moment. You have a moment where you can either go forward or just give up. But the one thing you have to keep in mind before you give up is if you give up, it guarantees it will never happen. The only possibility remains if it can happen if you never give up. I want to thank you all for showing up and listening to me and supporting the adult literacy program. Thank you.